Still out at my buddy Tony's house, and he's got the Shelby Daytona, and he's got a Cobra too. Tony, tell me a little bit about this hot rod.
This is a super performance car, which is manufactured in South Africa. This is car number 104. I bought the car in 1996, so it's been around for a while.
Right.
I bought just a roller and brought it home and finished it, put the motor and transmission, did wiring and so forth, put the wheels and stuff on it. They sell a pretty complete car.
So this is what you would call a kit?
This is a replica, yeah.
Right.
A kit or replica. Actually, Superformance is licensed. You know, Shelby's still building what he calls continuation cars.
Right.
Still to this day. And this is the company that makes his. This is the company that makes his cars that he sells in Las Vegas.
Now, is that company in South Africa? They've been working with Shelby for a long time.
Well,
it seems like
probably 10 years.
Yeah, something.
Yeah. I mean, they worked with Pete Brock on developing their version of the Daytona Coupe, which is about 10-12% bigger. A lot of the manufacturers that make the coupes are making them larger to accommodate guys like me and you.
Yeah, that's right.
You know?
Yeah, well,
and
I can see why.
people,
Right. Yeah,
people.
sure.
Back then, you know, they didn't care if a race car driver was uncomfortable.
Right.
But you know, my car happens to be the correct size. But, but some of the others are made bigger to accommodate, you know, hauling a little bit of luggage and so forth.
Now this car here, is it as tight to get in as that coupe is?
It's not as hard. Of course, you don't have a top to negotiate, so you don't have to roll yourself up in quite as small as a ball. Right. Because you can be up here when you get in. So,
does the steering wheel come off on this one?
Yeah, I put one of those on there.
That's cool, man. That's the way to go. Is that hard to install? Can you put that on any car?
It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Well, it's easy to put on these cars. Now, I don't know that you can put it on any car because a lot of the new cars have a lot of electronics and stuff in the steering wheel.
Right.
As you know, these cars didn't have a lot of electronics. So.
Right. How long have you had this car?
Well, I bought it in 1996, so it's
15 years old. Man, a lot. Who did the paint work on it?
Well, actually, this car was painted when I got it.
Wow.
I got it. It looked just like this. And then,
like
I said, I put the motor, the transmission, and put a new set of wheels and tires on it, and just kept it.
How big's the trunk? You said it had to be able to accommodate a suitcase.
Well, when they raced them, they had a little suitcase that had to fit in there. But there's a lot of room in there.
You know, there is. And it's finished out carpet. Yeah, very nice. Was a battery back here? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, the original cars, the battery sat behind the seat.
Right.
They had 2 6-volt batteries, I think, that set one on each side.
Gauges. Very nice. Clean car. And you have a top for it?
Yeah, I've got a top, a vinyl convertible top.
Right.
And it's got side curtains, you know, with little slider windows.
Right.
I don't put it on there, but I've got it. I've got all that.
What motor is it? Obviously, it's got a 427 in it.
Yeah, this is a 427 motor that like they ran at NASCAR, and you know, interestingly enough, a lot of the probably most of the street cars that were called 427 cars, even back then, had 428 police interceptor motors in them.
Wow.
Because they called them a 427 Cobra, and a few of them did have 427s in them, but several of them had 428 interceptor. They look just like these motors. I mean, you can't tell the difference by looking. Now, if you can see the side of the block, you can see a difference, because this one has the screw-in freeze-out plugs, and it's got the galley for the side oiler, galleys and things like that. Now, as a customer, if you complained and wanted a 427 motor, they'd get you one and put it in there.
Right.
But even back then, I mean, 427 motors are rare. They were hard to get back then because most of them went to the racetrack.
How many did they make of these?
Well, they only made
real ones.
They only made around 1,000 Cobras, Roadsters, and 600 and something of them were 289 small block cars.
Right.
That includes all the race cars, comp cars, and everything else.
Right.
And then they only made about 300 big block cars.
Wow.
So they're very, very, very rare.
What's one of the original big block cars worth?
Well, there again,
ballpark, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if it's you know, they didn't race the cars in Europe, but they club raced them in the United States. So, you know, depending on, you know, a lot of famous people own these cars in the past. You know, a lot of movie stars owned them and things like that. So if you've got a car with some history, like if it belonged to Shelby, or, you know, the twin supercharged car sold at Grant Jackson here a few years ago for, what, $5.5 million or
Right.
something like that. But if you just got a regular 427 street car that's decent, nice, driver, it's worth $1 million.
How many you think are left? Ballpark. I mean,
Most of them are.
Really?
I mean, there's a few of them.
they're aluminum cars,
Aluminum
right?
cars,
And this is fiberglass.
yeah. It's fiberglass.
Yeah. Boy, it's nice though. How fun is it to drive?
It's like a big go-kart.
Yeah. What do you think's easier to drive, this or the coupe?
Well, you know, it's hard for me to be. That's a difficult question. The coupe's new. And
Right.
I really like driving the coupe.
Right.
The coupe definitely feels more like a race car.
Yes.
Okay. But they're both fun, and you know, they're not a Mustang and they're not a Corvette. I mean, they're crude.
Right.
You know.
Right.
I mean, they're radical. They're jumpy. They're hot. They're noisy.
Right.
I mean, somebody's got a T-shirt out that says, talking about their Cobra, and the T-shirt says it's hot, it's loud, it drips oil, it's uncomfortable, a whole list of bad things, and then the last sentence says, "God, I love it."
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And so,
Right.
And that's what you gotta like. You
Right.
know? I mean, it's like getting into like a dirt track car or something, and
Right.
driving it on the street.
Right,
You know?
right.
I mean, that's the best way I know to explain it.
So it's still got that coupe, like I kept commenting when we were riding in it, was a very authentic feel to it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that it rattled, that it squeaked, that you could tell things were shifting in it.
Right.
That's the same thing we're dealing with
Same
here.
thing, yeah. I mean, this one's a little better. Well, first of all, it doesn't have a top, so a lot of the noise that's happening you don't hear.
Right.
It's
Right.
blowing out the back of the car. But it's still hot. The carpet covers up a lot of road noise and things
Sure,
like that.
sure.
This car, you know,
Right, don't
this
have-
car covers up nothing. I mean,
Right, yeah.
if something rubs, you hear it. If a gravel flies up inside the fender well, you hear it.
That's
you know?
right.
With the carpet and everything, this car is a little, and with the top down, this car is a little quieter, a little more docile, but it's still a real stiff. You feel every bump in the road.
Crude's what you said.
Yeah.
In the finest sense of the word crude.
Right.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
exactly.
Not like crude, ugly crude, but crude like, you know, it's not been polished up. You know what I'm saying? That's it. It's meant to give you that authentic feeling, and I guess it does.
But the people that are watching you look cool, drive down there. They have no idea that it's hot and it's
Right.
You just look cool.
Yeah, you just
down
look
the
cool.
road,
That's
you know?
right.
But they got bi-ply tires, so if they find a crack in the road, they'll follow that crack for as long as that crack
Right.
goes. You know, so like I said, people who have owned, especially nowadays with the way, you know, sports cars now ride great. You
Oh,
know?
yeah.
And if they've had like I said, a Corvette or a Mustang or a Camaro or something, and they think, man, I'd like to have one of these. If they're hardcore, they can make that crossover.
Right.
If they're not,
Right.
they're probably not going to be happy. You know,
Right.
I talk to a lot of people who are interested in buying these cars and who want one, and they'll come and talk to me. And after spending a few minutes talking to them, when they go away, I can turn around and I can tell one of my friends here with me, I said, they need to go buy a Mustang or they need
Right.
to go buy a Camaro, you know,
Right.
because they're not going to be happy. You got no CD player.
Right.
You got no radio. You couldn't hear it if you had it.
Right.
You know? You really got no air conditioning. You know, most of them don't have. This one has power brakes.
I was gonna
Most
say,
of them
yeah.
don't have power brakes.
Right.
None of them have power steering.
Stiff clutch.
You know, most of the time the clutches are very stiff.
Right.
The brakes are stiff.
Right.
You know, so it's.
What keeps you from putting modern tires on it? Just authentic, or the size?
Well,
or?
one of the things is, as you know, in the last 10 years, wheels have kept getting bigger and
Right.
tires have kept getting thinner.
Right,
okay? The right size tire in a radial tire is getting hard to find
Yeah.
because everything's being made to fit a 20-inch wheel and a
Right,
19-inch
right,
wheel.
right.
You know,
What are those?
these are 15s.
240. What are they?
Well, these are race tires, so they're made in inches. So they're
Ah,
they're 26
20 and a half,
They're 20. They're 26 and a half inches tall and 10 and a half inches wide. So a race tire if you'll see right here, that 26 right there means 26 inches tall
Right.
and 10.5 inches wide
Right.
on a 15-inch wheel.
I got you.
Okay? Pretty simple.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty simple. You don't end up with that.
No
whole string.
profile. Yeah,
You
yeah.
don't end up with a whole string of numbers that you don't know what it means.
Right.
So
And so the front and back wheels are the same?
no,
No.
no, the fronts are 8.5 by 15.
Oh, I
by
didn't notice.
26,
That's right.
okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. 2 inches. It's
Yeah.
got 10.5, and it's got 8. So 2.5
You can
inch
see the
was-
wheel.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
that's a thinner dish
Right,
wheel.
right,
That's a
right,
thinner
right.
dish wheel.
Now those are real knockoffs too. That is so cool. I love knockoffs. Is that a pain to change, or is it as easy as it seems?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you just take a lead hammer.
Right.
I safety wire mine, so
Right,
I've
sure.
never had one loosen up, but,
Right.
but they can. You just cut that safety wire off, and I've got a lead hammer. You know, there's some people they've got a big spinner wrench,
Right.
but they don't work. They don't work as well. Nothing works like putting torque on something with a lead hammer.
Right.
And you know, the lead won't hurt the aluminum if you miss. But you tighten that spinner and you take that lead hammer and you just bang it tight and then put your safety wire on in there. And that's the way they put them on and took them off.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
Wow. That is so cool. And there's no real bumper on it.
you know what?
Real front bumper on it. Or rear bumper.
Well, I mean, some of the Roadster cars, you know, they had a little aluminum or stainless steel hood.
Right.
This is set up like a semi-comp or a street comp car. It's called an SC 427, which means it had jack bumpers, side pipes, no bumpers.
Right.
But they had street cars that had dual exhaust that came out the back. They had a little stainless steel hoop bumper,
Yeah, I thought,
You know.
yeah.
and they had sunburst wheels.
How many horsepower do you think you're getting out of this motor?
Somewhere around 550, 600 horsepower. Down
2 4 barrels. 8 barrels. 550 horse. How much does this thing weigh?
About 2,000 pounds.
Oh, yeah. What do you think about that, folks? He said it rides like a go-kart, but I don't know. Go-kart that's 2,000 pounds and 500 horse. What is that, 4 pounds per horsepower? Yeah. So, there you go. That's gotta be wicked to drive. Tony, I appreciate it again, brother. I cannot tell you how much I really appreciate you showing me your cars and spending the afternoon with me.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Folks, I hope you've enjoyed this one. Like I said, I passed by a lot of these Cobras, I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of them out there, and a lot of them are 100-footers, I'll be honest with you, that, you know, they look good when they pull up. They all sound good. By the way, can we hear this one start before I go? They all sound good, you know, but they're rough cars. But again, I've come to the realization that if Tony's got it, it's going to be top-notch. Best there is, nice there is. Gotta love that. Again, Tony, thank you so much. Have a good day.